drinking? Bet your ass I was. You try staying in there for 5 minutes sober.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Once again, I want y'all to cast your minds back to the summer, but instead of 2018, here's the summer of 2020, where we're all stuck inside of the virus that shall not be named. WrestleMania was hosted with no fans at the Performance Center, and we were blessed with the live-action adaptation of Artemis Fowl. The good old days. But more importantly, we were blessed with the sequel to Netflix's 2018 smash hit, The Kissing Booth, with it being named The Kissing Booth 2. Ooh. Now, my opinion on the first film is that it's both entertainingly good and bad at the same time. Like, I could maybe see myself going back and watching it for a good laugh, but I wouldn't, like, actively seek out to watch it again. I'll watch it maybe one night if I'm really bored and just be like, oh, here's a laugh, The Kissing Booth. However, the same cannot be said for the sequel, and I specifically remember back in 2020, I watched this film twice. Once with a good friend of mine, and then the second time because we did an episode review for it on the podcast.
Fuck.
So I spent a total of 4 hours and 22 minutes watching The Kissing Booth 2. Kissing Booth 2 manages to take all the aspects I didn't enjoy in the first film and made them 10 times worse. The only good thing that they kept from the first film into the sequel had to be the chemistry between all the cast. Jacob, Joey, and Joel. All of them had great chemistry. Still good, still believable. The only good aspect that was carried over from the first film to this film. Everything else, not that good. The story managed to be both cliche and boring. You can already see where the story was going when they introduced the conflict of Elle meeting a new guy and like, oh man, I like him, but I'm in a long distance relationship with Noah, who it's later alluded to that he's talking to a girl behind her back while he's in Boston in a long distance relationship and he's a bad boy and he can't hold himself down. The juicy drama. I mean, I'll give them props for trying something new with that, but it gets resolved by the end, and it's kind of predictable of where the story's going to go by the end, so it just kind of added up to being a big nothing burger. And speaking of nothing burgers, I'm going to say that about the characters. See, the characters in the film, they lost all the charm that they had in the first film, and they turned into very unlikable like characters. And I'll once again say this, the main culprit, again, is Elle. She's like 10 times worse than she was in the first one. She's like not being considerate of others, being narcissistic, overreacting, being too emotionally like lashing out instead of listening to reason, and it's just not good. Elle's like worst habits are multiplied in the sequel, and her best friend Lee starts to get into a relationship with this girl that went to school with them, and she's starting to butt in on that, and you kind of side with the girl being like, you never let us have our time together, and that's right. And Elle, once again, is being the Sierra Burgess of her own movie. She is her own worst enemy in these movies, and that happens again with the sequel. But I think the one thing that really grinds my gears with The Kissing Booth 2, it's got to be the runtime. The first movie was 1 hour and 50 minutes long, and at least it had meaningful things happening to progress the stories and characters along. Like the Kissing Booth was used as a main plot point to get the story going, and you know, everything like that. And it was easy. It was like the Kissing Booth was saved like near the end and the beginning of the movie. With The Kissing Booth 2, they do the Kissing Booth like right off the gate, and then everything else is just the summertime, and it's so dumb. Like, this film had a runtime of 2 hours and 11 minutes, and it's just filler. It's mostly just the Kissing Booth, then a series of random events going into the later half of the school year, because you got Lee and Elle getting ready for a Dance Dance Revolution competition. She meets a new guy at school, and they do the DDR competition. She goes to visit Noah in Boston, then he comes up to visit her, and the whole conflict happens, and then they had a DDR. It's like there's so much stuff going on from the main plot of the film, of it being the Kissing Booth like it was before, and it's like really, really stupid. So if you're gonna fill your film with filler content, that's fine, but at least make it consistent with the story you're telling. It just kind of just seemed like different things happening just to get to the end of the movie, and yeah, just a lot of the runtime was just filler. They could have cut that down significantly to at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if they wanted to. Overall, The Kissing Booth 2 was a very weak sequel. There was a template they had to work with in the first film, in which they didn't do it at all. Like like I mentioned before, they had some like a building block to use from the first film and the new one that could have worked for it, but it just didn't do it. And to think that they filmed this in the third movie at the same time, it's kind of funny to me. And don't worry, we're gonna get to the third film, and that's gonna be an adventure. I'll tell you that right now. But being a downgrade that it is, I'm going to give The Kissing Booth 2 a 3 out of 10. So let me know down in the comments below, did you see The Kissing Booth 2? And what did you think of it? And are you excited for The Kissing Booth 3 or any more Kissing Booth movies? Until next time, I've been Mac Movie Reviews. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
This is fun! Hello!